back with another video for you. Firstly, we have a new story from Istanbul, Turkey. Since the start of Russia-Ukraine conflict, food prices have gone up. Grain prices have gone up too. Africa is severely affected because Africa was one of the largest importers of wheat from Russia and Ukraine. And wheat prices are soaring in Africa, and several African countries relied heavily on Russia and Ukraine. Other continents also relied on wheat, on Russia and Ukraine for wheat, maize, barley. So a meeting was held in Istanbul, Turkey today with participation of Russia, Ukraine, Turkey and UN to resolve this international food crisis. Has there been progress made there in the meeting? A second news story is about North Shava zone of Amhara region. Here we know that 2 days ago there were heavy clashes between Amhara forces and local armed farmers, locals, though OLA is also accused that it was involved in these attacks, in this fighting. Today, a Fano faction released a statement about what happened in North Shua zone. According to Fano faction, large number of Amhara Special Force members were killed on Saturday and Sunday in clashes in North Shore zone of Amhara region. Thirdly, we have a new story from Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital, where a draw was held to distribute houses in government-built condominium. But this draw was not fair. It was revealed that some government officials who were part of this process, they were involved in corrupt practices. They have been arrested, and Addis Ababa mayor today cancelled the draw results. The draw was held on the 8th of July. And lastly, very important news stories about Mitiku Kassa, head of Ethiopian National Disaster and Risk Management Commission, who has been arrested today on corruption charges. And Ethiopian police a few hours ago shared details of Mitiku Kassa's corruption. His daughter, his son, his mother, his family, all have reaped the benefits of Mitiku Kassa's shameful corrupt practices. We have details for you. Firstly, viewers, Russia-Ukraine conflict has led to soaring food prices, grain prices across the world. Wheat prices have gone up. Russia and Ukraine are two large wheat exporters, sunflower, corn, maize, barley exporters, and some countries rely heavily on Russia and Ukraine for wheat imports. UAE, Libya, Egypt, other African countries. Africa relies on Russia and Ukraine for almost 30% of its wheat imports. You can see how heavily Africa relies on Russia and Ukraine for wheat imports. And a few weeks ago, African Union chairperson and president traveled to Russia. They met with President Putin, and they requested that Russian blockade on Ukrainian ports be lifted because Africa was suffering and African countries are backing Russia in this conflict. At Union Assembly sessions, Human Rights Council sessions, African countries supported Russia, not Ukraine. So a meeting was held today in Istanbul, Turkey, with participation of representatives from Russia, Ukraine, Turkey and UN. The meeting was held to resolve international food crisis, that Russia should lift the blockade on Ukrainian ports, that Ukraine should be allowed to export grain to the world. What happened? Meeting has been held. After the meeting, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke, and he said there was a ray of hope. And a coordination center is going to be established in Istanbul, Turkey next week. More meetings will be held. Russia is demanding that Russia will have the right to search all Ukrainian ships because there could be arms smuggling through food, grains carrying ships. And secondly, Black Sea, through which Ukrainian ships will pass, is heavily mined. Russia has mined Black Sea. So without Russian support, there is no likelihood of safe movement of these Ukrainian cargo ships for export of wheat. Russia wants to have control over Ukrainian exports of wheat. Russia is in control of around 20% of Ukraine's farming land. Eastern Ukraine is very fertile. Eastern Ukraine is gradually coming under Russian control. So some proposals have been shared by Russian side. Discussions have been held. No agreement signed today, but next week more meetings will be held, and UN says it's hopeful that progress could be made. But question is, viewers, if Russia allows Ukraine to export its wheat, barley, maize, and Ukraine starts receiving proceeds, the income of its sales, of course Ukraine will use the money for the war against Russia. That is why Russia won't allow Ukraine to start exporting grains freely. Let's see what happens. Next week meeting will be held again in Turkey. Turkey is ready to resolve this international food crisis. Europe, Africa, US, UN all want some sort of agreement about export of grains from Russia and Ukraine. Second news story is from Ethiopia, where we know that 2 days ago there was heavy fighting in North Shore zone of Amhara region. It was second bout of violence in this zone in the past 2 months. Fighting was between Amhara regional forces, Amhara Special Forces, and local armed farmers, locals of North Shore zone. And fighting was mostly in Ephrata and Dam districts. In the suburbs of Ataya as well, there was heavy fighting. Today, a militia based in the Amhara region of Ethiopia, Amhara Fano, it released a statement. One faction of this group released a statement. Amhara regional government has not shared numbers so far. How many Amhara Special Force members, how many Amhara regional force members have been killed. But today, Amhara Fano claimed that a large number of Amhara Special Force members were killed on Saturday and Sunday in fighting close to Ataya. Large number of killed and many received, many were injured, some seriously and some mildly. Amhara Fano has expressed sorrow over this incident and it is urging Amhara Special Force that this loss of life is due to incompetent leaders of Amhara region, Amhara Prosperity Party, and due to incomplete logistics provided to Amhara regional, Amhara Special Forces. Fano says that Amhara Prosperity Party, Amhara regional government used Amhara Special Force to launch an operation against Fano, and now without Fano, Amhara Special Force is suffering losses. Its members are being killed and wounded in clashes. We know that more than a month ago, around 2 months ago, Amhara Special Force, Amhara Regional Force, some federal forces, they launched a major operation against Amhara Fano militia. Since then, thousands of Amhara Fano militia members have been arrested and they are in prison. Top Amhara Fano leaders are on the run. Some have come under government control, but several are on the run. So Amhara Special Force is now suffering losses. Amhara Fano is showing solidarity with Amhara Special Force members. It says it's ready to work with Amhara Special Force. But Amhara Special Force, Amhara Regional Force should stand up to Amhara Prosperity Party. But a confirmation. This Fano statement is a confirmation that on Saturday and Sunday, Amhara regional forces suffered heavy losses, which is not being acknowledged by Amhara regional government. Thirdly, we have a new story from Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital, where on the 8th of July, a draw was conducted to distribute houses in a government-built condominium. But today, Addis Ababa mayor cancelled this draw. According to Addis Ababa mayor, corrupt practices were observed in the process. Several government officials who were overseeing the process of this lottery, who were part of this process to monitor this lottery, they were found involved in corrupt practices. They have been arrested. At least 12 people, 12 government officials have been arrested. Two are main government officials like Muluken Habto, and 10 other government officials working with Muluken Habto have been arrested. Draw will be held again, but before that, investigations will be held. These 12 government officials will be investigated, and secondly, a safe and secure system will be developed for the next draw, for which date has not been announced by the government. But draw which was held on the 8th of July has been cancelled by the government. Lastly, viewers, we have a very shocking news story about Mitiku Kassa, who is Ethiopian, who was Ethiopian National Disaster and Risk Management Commission's head. He was the commissioner of National Disaster and Risk Management Commission, top body which is monitoring aid distribution in Ethiopia. But today, Ethiopian Federal Police arrested Mitiku Kassa. Now, Federal Police has shared details of Mitiku Kassa's corruption. What did he do? The details shared by police are an eye-opener, viewers. This man is involved in corruption of millions of Ethiopian birrs in collaboration with Al-Shade Relief and Development Association, which is an NGO. Mitiku Kassa is involved in selling wheat, rice, cooking oil, and other food items to different buyers in Oromia, in other parts of Ethiopia. Yemane Gebramariam, who is a senior official of this NGO, and Mitiku Kassa, and some other officials of this NGO, they have been found involved in this corruption. According to the details shared by Ethiopian government, by Ethiopian Federal Police, 472 million Ethiopian birds have been embezzled. Embezzlement of 472 million Ethiopian birds by Mitiku Kassa. His son Iyaso was receiving 15,000 birds, which was a rent where he was living, rent of a house where he was living. He bought a car as well. Al-Shade Relief and Development Association bought a car for his son Iyaso, and he was receiving some monthly amount too. Mitiku's daughter Mikia was not an employee of Al-Shade Relief Organization, but she has been receiving monthly amounts too, and around 800,000 birds were found deposited to the account of Mikia, who is a daughter of Mitiku Kassa. His wife, his mother, they have also been involved. They're involved in this corruption. They have purchased properties in Addis Ababa, in other parts of Ethiopia. Shameful corruption by Mitiku Kassa. It's an embarrassment for Ethiopian government. World is helping Ethiopian government because people are dying in Ethiopia. There is drought. Millions are in dire need of food. People cannot afford twice a day meal in Ethiopia. And a few days ago, some aid agencies reported that meal supplies were being cut in half for some refugees because aid agency did not have enough money. And here you see that Mitiku Kassa is involved in corruption worth millions of Ethiopian birds. His son, his daughter, his mother, his wife, all are involved. I think Mitiku Kassa should be dealt with an iron hand. While we appreciate what the government is doing, that it has arrested Mitiku Kassa and government is sharing details of his corruption, we have a question. Is there any body monitoring the activities of top Ethiopian government officials? So government arrested this man after he has done so much damage. It means that government's check and balance system is weak, and that is why Mitiku Kassa has been involved in this corruption for months. He's been in charge of this National Disaster Risk Management Commission for months. It means government's check and balance needs to be improved as well. Thank you for watching.